for me this morning. So this time, Brother Bill, you would come on up, please.
Thank you, Brother Charles. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope you had a wonderful week, and you have a more wonderful week that's coming up. As Brother Charles mentioned, when we had our supper last Wednesday, he mentioned that he was going to be in town, and he asked me to come up and speak. Now, at first I was a little perplexed. I didn't really know what I was going to say. But one of the things I do every morning, the first thing I do is I fix me a cup of coffee, and I sit on the front porch, and I talk to my Father in heaven. It's not a prayer. A prayer, you are either thanking for something, or you're requesting something for yourself or for someone else. This is a discussion I have every morning. Sometimes it's only 15 minutes, sometimes it might be an hour and a half. And as I'm sitting there, I ask the Father, what do you want me to say? What words do you want to put in my mouth to give the message? And after a while of contemplation, in my head came this words. He said, Bill, tell him about my greatest commandment. If you were to look at John 15:12, it says, this is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Now, in the Bible, the word love is used 442 times. Charity, which I will explain in a little bit, is used 24 times in the original Bible. Now, the original Bible is in Arabic and Greek. And you need to understand something about, especially the ancient Greek. In English, we have one word for love. That's it. But the word love can be used in so many different ways. It can be used as an affection for an object, or a situation, or a person, or multiple people. The Greek language is much, much more specific. That is one reason why often in the medical field and in science field, much of the language is based upon Greek words. Meso, meaning middle, and so on. And in the Greek, in the Bible, there are 4 words that mean love. Eros, storge, filio, and agape. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about these 4. What are they? How do they affect our lives? And how we should behave with those 4 forms of love involved in our lives. Now the first one is Eros. Eros is the love of romance. Eros is the love of sex. Eros is the love between a husband and wife. God created Eros for husbands and wives. Eros is the only love that is biological. It is only love that is physical in the nature of procreation. But there is one problem with Eros. Eros is also the only love that can lead you to sin. That sin is fornication or adultery. So we must always be careful when we consider Eros. There are 3 verses I would like to read to you. Now, before I do that, you need to understand that Eros itself is not bad. It is how it is used. For example, in the Song of Songs, which is of Solomon, it reads, and this is the positive Eros, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because of the savor of thy good ointment, thy name is an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Draw me, we will run from thee, after thee. The King has brought me unto his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine, the upright love of thee. That is the love of a husband and wife in the bedroom. That is the love that each of us, when we're married, should have. But as I said, it can also lead to sin. For example, in Corinthians 6:12, it says, flee fornication. Every sin that a man does is without the body. But he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. And in Galatians 5:19 it says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, and lasciviousness. So guys, take care when you consider that love. The second type of love is storge. Storge is the love of family. This is the love of a mother and father to their children, and their children to their parents. That doesn't necessarily mean blood kin. It can also mean people who you have adopted into your family. This is a bit of an unconditional love. You may reprimand them. You may get on their case. But the love is always there. There are one story in the Bible that manifests this love more than any other. See, this man, daughter was dying or dead. And he came to a stranger, someone he knew nothing about. Someone that just walked into his city one day. And that story is found in Luke 8:49-56. And it reads, while he yet spake, there cometh one from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, thy daughter is dead, trouble not the master. But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, fear not, believeth only, and she shall be made whole. Now remember, this man doesn't know who this guy is, has no idea. And when he came into the house, he suffered no man to come in, save Peter and James and John, and the father and mother of the maiden. And all wept and bewailed her, because they loved her so much. That is storge love. But he said, weep not, she is not dead, she sleepeth. And they laughed at him with scorn, knowing that she was dead. And he put them all out, and took her by the hand, and called, saying, Maid, arise. And her spirit came again. And she rose straightway, and he commanded to give her meat. And her parents were astonished. But he charged them that they should tell no man what was done. Now remember, this was at the beginning of his ministry. He was not yet ready to expose who he really was. As far as his parents were concerned, he was just a stranger that walked into the home. Yes, he had followers. They didn't know anything about him. But they loved their daughter so much that they begged this man. They came to him, please, please help us. That is storge. That is love of family. The third type of love. This is the one called filial. The city of Philadelphia is named after this. This is brotherly love. This is the love of a man and woman that is not storge. It is a love of long friendship. It is a love that's shown through close friendship. It is generous. It is forgiving. Give you an example. That's something that's very different with the American, British society, and especially the Romance societies of like Italy and Spain and Mexico, is here we don't really physically express brotherly love much. In Mexico, for example, where I've come from and lived for many, many years, one way that they express brotherly love is they take and they hug each other. Man or woman, doesn't matter. Here, you hug a man and, oh my goodness, maybe they're a little, you know? That's not the case. They also take and they kiss each other on the cheek, man or woman, doesn't matter. They are showing filial. They are showing brotherly love. There are 2 verses in the Bible that talks about brotherly love. The first one is Romans 12:10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. In other words, you stand for your friend. You support your friend. You take, and regardless of what's happening in their lives, you're there. This is a time where perhaps gossip has started. Whether true or not, you still support your friend. Now you may take and criticize them in private. You may go, hey buddy, I think you're doing wrong. But you do not take and sit there and continue to gossip because of brotherly love. The second one is John 11:33-36. And it says, when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews were weeping came with her, she groaned in the spirit and was troubled, and said, where have you laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. And they said, then said the Jews, behold, how he loved him. This is the love that Jesus had for Lazarus. This is the love that he had so much that he brought him back from death. Again, this is filial. Now, the next one is probably the most important. It is holy love. It is sacrificial love. It is the love of God for man. It is the love that we are supposed to show more than any. And that is known as agape. It is unconditional. You want nothing in return when you give this love. Let me give you some examples of this. And the last one is the most important. When you put money in that pot, in that collection plate, you're showing agape. That money, even though you may not know exactly where it goes, you know it's going to do good. That it is going to help in some way. You're not going to get anything in return. You're not going to get, any kind of recognition to speak of. That's agape. Another example of agape is a soldier that throws himself on the grenade to save his fellow soldiers. He gives up his life for his brethren. That is agape. And the greatest agape, the greatest of all, is when Christ is laid upon the cross for our sins. These are the verses, and there's quite a few of them, but let me give you a few. Oh, by the way, charity. I mentioned that charity. When charity is mentioned in the Bible, this is the type of love they're talking about. Unconditional love. Love where you get nothing in return, but you still do it. John 4:9-10. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Jesus answered, said unto her, if thou knowest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked him, and he would have given thee drink of water. Now you got to understand, Jews hated Samaritans. They would not walk on the same side of the street of them. They would not deal with them in any form. They criticized them. They put them down as the lowest of the low. And yet here's Jesus showing agape. He's saying, hey, he's talking to her. He's asking for drink. He's telling her that even though you're a Samaritan, I love you. I give you agape. Care for you. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. Charity, now remember, charity means agape, suffereth long and is kind. Charity is envieth not. Charity boasteth not itself, is not puffed up. Does not behave unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Breach all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. This is a description of charity, of agape. This is what each of us should seek in our heart when we walk out of here. I want to give you a personal example that I experienced here a few months ago. I was in the whatever store in Dixon. A young man walked in. He's carrying a jumper cables. And he went and talked to the owner of the place. And I'm sitting there listening. And he said, man, I really need some help. I want to sell these cables. I've run out of gas. My wife and my kids are in the car. I need to get to Wayne. Love you, baby. And he said, I need to get the wings. I need to get the wings. Well, the owner didn't have any use for it. No. So I called the young man over, and I handed him $20. And he tried to hand me the cable. So I don't want them. You know? And he said, well, what can I do? He said, pass it forward. When you ask someone to pass it forward, that means you're not going to get anything in return. You're not going to get anything, any benefit from your actions. But that is what God wants us to do. Pass it forward. To show that kind of love to our fellow man. Another verse. God 13:35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. If you show this kind of love, they know that you are a Christian. They know that you follow the good book. Finally, the most important verse probably in the entire Bible. And it has nothing to do but with agape. And that is John 3:16. And it said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That is the foundation of the Christian way. That is the reason why we are here in this church today. Think about it. Think about when you walk out of here. What can you do to show that kind of love? It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be just little, small, tiny things that you do that will keep your heart open to the love of God. That's all I got, folks. No mas, no more. Or either one, would you like to do the closing?